All right, so this is part 2 of the written report, and we're going to talk primarily about how to insert a data table and graphs from a Google spreadsheet and how to write the conclusion. So if we want to, we need to open both the written report and we need to open up this is my practice, but you need to open up your spreadsheet that has your actual data table and graphs. So I'm going to move down here and scroll down to where data is. And it says you're going to put the data table and graph on the paper here. You're going to use Google Sheets to create your data table and graph. Please see me to get help when you need it. We'll talk about this more in detail. So I'm actually going to delete this. Okay, apparently not. I am actually going to delete this and leave my cursor. Let's space down 1. Just space down 1. So now I'm going to go to my spreadsheet, and I'm actually going to highlight the data table. And I'm not going to highlight any more, so I'm going to start with the bottom average and move all the way up to the top left. So for this, it's E3 to A1. I'm not sure what yours are. And to copy, you can do a couple of things. You can go to Edit Copy. You can hit Control C. I have a mouse, so I'm going to hit right-click Copy. Okay? And you're going to see the dashed line, and that's everything that's included in the copy. I don't want any of this white space. Okay, so then I'm going to click over here to my report, and my cursor's right here, and that's where I want my data table to go in. And so you can do a couple of things. You can go edit, paste. You can do Control V. I can do a right click with a mouse. So it comes up with this dialog, and it says, do you want to link this to your spreadsheet? Yes, I do. I do. So that means anything I change on my spreadsheet, it will automatically change it here, and I won't have to delete it and paste it again. So I want to keep that toggled on. So I'm going to hit paste, and voila, I have this lovely data table. Okay. There's probably a couple things I need to do to this data table to improve it just a little bit. Okay. A lot of people were confused because there wasn't enough detail on here when you started making your data tables and graphs. So I'm going to show you something you can do. I'm going to put my cursor in the top row, and I'm going to go to Insert. And, okay, that's not going to work. How about Format? Don't want to do that. So on a mouse, I can do right-click, Insert Row Above. So on your touchpad, can you hit right-click, Insert Above? I wonder if I could do Format. No, Table. Aha! So you can also go Format. You could go Table, and you can go Insert Above. So it's going to put a row above. And what I want to do is I want to put a heading above my trial so I know what 3, 3, 5, and 4 mean. And so for this, I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to go Format. I'm going to go Table, and I'm going to hit Merge Cells. So now all those lines went, and it's just one cell right there. So I'm going to type in here that those numbers is the plant height in centimeters. So maybe yours is amount evaporated, parentheses ml, or amount condensed, grams. Okay? And then I need to get rid of this little box right here. So if I highlight this one and that one, and I go back to Format, Format, Table, I'm going to go down to Merge Cells. It gets rid of that and kind of merges them all together. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to highlight average and the next one above it that's blank. And I want to mush them together. So I'm going to go to Format, Table, Merge Cells. So to me, it kind of still looks a little goofy. It looks like kind of there's some extra space here. So I'm going to move my cursor so it's arrows. And I'm going to drag it down a little bit. Kind of make it look. If I want to move amount of light up, I hit right behind the T and I hit Enter. Yeah, I don't know that works. So I'm going to hit Undo. So that kind of, I think that looks okay. So I'm going to stop there. And if you see this little, that says it's linked. Okay. I might take that space off. Okay. So that's pretty good. So I'm going to put my cursor down here and I'm ready to put in my graph. And the first graph I'm going to put in is the graph of the trial data. So I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet. I'm going to click once so that there's dots all the way around. And I'm going to go to either edit, copy, control C, or if you have a mouse, you can right click. So I'm going to go back to my written report, and where my cursor is, I'm going to paste it. So let's see if I did it right. Paste. Yes. Ha! Look, it went in. Okay. So, I'm a little picky. I might center that. See, I can't. None of these are active. If I want to change anything and like center this, I have to click it here. Double click it. There we go. And I can go over here and nope. Oh, there it is. I see it. Center it if I want it. So it's centered here. So if I go over to the written report and I hit update, it will change whatever I need. So that's pretty good. I've got capitalization in units. I have a descriptive title. I have a x-axis label because that's time. There's no misspelling. Everything's capitalized. Looks pretty good. So I'm going to click down here, and I think I might need some space. I'm going to click and give me some space. Okay. So the last graph I need to put in there is my average. So I'm going to click it. I'm going to hit copy. And then I'm going to go over to my written report and I'm going to hit paste. Yes, I want to link it. And there's my averages. So I'm done with my graphs now. So it's really important before you start copying and pasting and making your graphs, it's really important that this data table is perfect. Capitalized, spelling correctly, centered, bolded, all those good things, all that's correct. Because once that's correct, then these two will come in correct. And once those two come in correct, then these will come in correct. And it's less work long run. Okay, so let's go to the conclusion. So the conclusion is generally a one paragraph. It's usually very long. And what I've tried to do is kind of make it as easy as possible. So let me read the first paragraph. It says, highlight the text and write one paragraph. You're going to restate the purpose of your experiment, including your independent and dependent variables. You're going to tell me what your major findings are. So that means summarize your data in your graph. You're going to tell me, was your hypothesis supported by your data? So yes, my hypothesis was supported by the data. No, it wasn't. What your errors were and how you could improve this experiment. There's always a couple of things you can say. And what could be studied next after this experiment? What new experiment could continue this topic of study? So what I've tried to do is I've tried to really break it down. So the first sentence is to restate the purpose of your experiment. So here's an example of something you might want to use. Maybe you tweak it for yours. Here's one format you could possibly use. So that's going to be your first sentence. Okay. Then the next sentence in the paragraph should talk about your findings, summarize your data. So here's an example of what a summary sentence might look like, or two summary sentences. Okay. So here's an example if you want to see one. The next sentence is whether or not your hypothesis was supported or not. So here's one format you could use. Here's another format you could use. Choose one. Here's an example of a couple sentences that somebody acknowledges some of the possible mistakes or errors. As a teacher, I don't care whether your hypothesis was true or false. I don't care if you got zeros on all your data. What I care about is if you made a mistake, you have figured out what your mistake is and how that might have changed your results. That's how I know if you've learned. Here's two examples of what's not acceptable. So don't do those. What you could do be studied next, or what new experiment could be use to continue the study. Here's a sentence or two that would explain that. Okay, so what you're going to do is if you decide to use the yellow highlights, you're just going to mush them into a paragraph and make sure it's coherent and there's organization to it. Okay, once you're done and you've written it, none of this should show up in your written report because you've written your own paragraph. Okay. All right, so I would make sure that you've proofread it, read it, take a look and see if there's anything underlined in red, see if there's anything underlined in green. If you want to have somebody peer edit it, feel free to share it with someone, not get up and move in the room, but share it electronically and ask them if they're willing to do that. You are able to do that. So I'm going to put a deadline on this as Friday, the 20th. I just need a copy from one copy from both of you because both of you should be doing this. This should not be one person doing the whole thing. Please remember that not everybody in your team is going to get the same grade, and you will be evaluating each other to share with me who was supposed to do what and who actually did what to see if the amount of work was equitable.